Hi, and welcome to the Rice Museum. I'm your host, Garrett Romaine, and today I want to give you an exploration of the Harvey Lapidary Arts Gallery. This is a great room. It was the old bedroom when this was still a house. Mr. and Mrs. Rice lived in here, and it's really one of the coolest rooms in the museum right now because it's got something for everybody, and some of the artwork in here just blows you away. This truly shows you about the splendors of the earth. I'm going to start by pointing out the Aurora Borealis piece right here. You almost have to see this one to really appreciate it. But what's happened is you've got this precious opal with all kinds of colors from the rainbow, and it was mined over in Morrow County, so probably from the Heppner area, and then it was cut. Somebody laser etched in Mount Hood, and you can see there's a picture of Mount Hood behind it, and then they overlaid this precious opal underneath on top of it, and so it's like Mount Hood with an Aurora Borealis. It's just a gorgeous piece, and you kind of have to see that one to really appreciate it. I'm going to just spin you around the room. The next piece is this lapis lazuli. It's a 100-pound piece. You probably didn't know that lapis comes from seams, and this really shows it off. It's been polished, it's a touch piece, and it's 111 pounds. It's a giant piece of lapis, so all the way from Afghanistan. Next over here is our birthstones display, and there's a couple of different birthstone kind of lists. But we roll you through, so no matter what your birthday is, starting in January, and we've got a bunch of different kinds of garnets. Most people may not know that there are several different kinds of garnets, including the ones from northern Idaho, the almandine garnet up there, and then some really cool stuff, savorite, uvarovite, it's pretty obscure ones. Then the amethyst. Next for March is aquamarine. You've got diamond in April, and we've got some kimberlite with diamond in it. Roll you through to emeralds in May. June is, in this one, it can be chrysoberyl, it can be alexandrite. Ruby is July. Peridot is in August. Sapphire, September. Corundum, sapphire. And then topaz in November. We've got some beautiful faceted topaz in here. And then opal in December, or zircon. So like I say, there's a couple of different lists. What I like about this display is not just the faceted stones, which are beautiful, but also we show you some of the rough material that some of these come from. And I think that's important to be able to visualize where some of your precious stones come from. It's nice to see the actual rocks that they came out of. Okay, I'm going to spin you over next to a really cool piece of myricite. This is what's called a chop, and in China you'll have your family crest or whatever is carved into the bottom of that. You dip it in ink and stamp it on your paper. This comes to us from John Lee, one of our great donors over the years, has given us other examples of myricite, and we also have some for sale in the museum store. Next up is a beautiful fluorite vase that is carved out of a single hunk of fluorite, and you have to get up close to these rings and really appreciate it and just kind of stare at it and understand that the sculptor envisioned this piece and then kind of released it from the stone, if you will. The Rice family did a great job of collecting carvings over the years, and this room has a really amazing display. I'll show you some more of that in a minute. This next case is some of your classic cabochons that you might have seen in the old-fashioned on belt buckles and bolo ties. These two shelves in the middle are from the collection of Russell Snook, who's a really famous carver in the Pacific Northwest. And what's really amazing about these two shelves is a lot of this material is from Oregon. You've got the Vistaite, which is from Prineville, Morrisonite from the Morrison Ranch. You've got cave jasper from Prineville, polka dot agate over at Richardson's Ranch out of Madras, petrified wood from Oregon. The Cary plume is from the Cary Ranch. And then starting over here, you've got the sunset jasper from Richardson's Ranch. You've got the amazing holly blue agate, which comes from down by Sweet Home. Willow Creek is from Idaho. It's a site that collectors can't get to, but beautiful stuff. And then this Biggs jasper from the old deposit along Highway 97, which has been closed for years. And Hay Creek jasper, which is also from Madras. So Russell was one of those artists that didn't just decide, I'm going to make an oval cabochon. He kind of let the rock tell him what the shapes should be. And so he's got some really whimsical stuff. I just think it's genius the way he designed the cab that came out of the rock around the rock itself. Up on the top you've got some spheres, and these are from all over the West. I will show you some more in a second, but these come from a sphering machine. You set this, you get a rock fairly rounded, but then it goes on a machine which just works on it over a period of weeks, if not months, and with higher and higher grit. It's like sandpaper, where you start out with 60 grit, and then by the time you're done, you're at 500. So it's the same grit that you use for grinding with these cabs and with these spheres. And on the bottom here is an example of a really cool Smithsonian magazine cover, and then artist Colin Cater reproduced that cover inside that frame with Oregon material, with obsidian, fire agate, jade from Alaska, white jade from Oregon, and just a bunch of different colors. So you can see he did a great job with that. Okay, this next case is just more really great carvings, and not just in your traditional jade or serpentine, but you've got quartz, amethyst, you've got riebeckite and tiger eye, dolomite, where the artist has let the chrysanthemum stone out. Those are feldspar or some other mineral, but they've carved around it and made it look like a flower. Beautiful jadeite. This one is an agate, a jadeite. And then this purple is called charoite. It's a very rare mineral. It's only found in Siberia, in Russia, near Lake Baikal. But we've got a beautiful vase of that. Jadeite, nephrite jade, which is different from jadeite. Then down below there's a beautiful hunk of azurite blue. We've got the horses, which I think is in a argillite or a sandstone. You've got turquoise over here. And then the greens are malachite, and then you've got a rhodonite. This is a chrysocolla over here, but I mean even down to an ear of corn. Just some really beautiful art. You know, that's part of our mission, to for all generations to enjoy the earth's splendors and varieties. Okay, this next case just went in while we were closed to the public. One of our longtime donors and volunteers, Linda Harvey, put this together. And it's just a spectacular collection of spheres and then the minerals that they come from. And you just have to get your nose up close to this glass to really appreciate the beauty in here. And she's got examples of the material in its rough form so that you can see what the artist had to work with before they made the sphere or carved the vase. And some of them, they don't lend themselves at first blush to making a sphere, like the chrysocolla over on the left, but it's kind of cool to see it with the open vug in there and the druzy quartz and crystals inside. And then you got a kyanite, tourmaline on top. This is one of my favorites, this astrophyllite. I think it's probably pronounced astrophyllite, but astrophyllite. This stick agate is really rare. It's from Turkey. And forget if those might be little fossils that are in there. So beautiful malachite from the Congo. Here's an Oregon rock. This is the Linda Marie jasper from Central Oregon. And then down below you can see there's a basalt. There's a very coarsely vesicular basalt, lots of holes in it, but it's been turned into a really fascinating sphere. Got a thulite from up at Tonk Creek in Washington, petrified wood from Madagascar and from Nevada, and then this is a really nice sphere here. Those are emeralds in the matrix, and behind that is a ruby and kyanite. So just some really fascinating stuff in there. Okay, the next one I'm going to show you is Oregon gems. It is not well known, but the sunstone is Oregon's state gem. And the reason is because they're really easy to find. If you go out to the Plush area north of there in the Rabbit Hills, the BLM has set aside multiple areas, and you just park your car, get out, walk among the sagebrush, and you can find generally the straw-colored sunstones. They're weathering out of the basalt, and you're going to have to get farther away from the parking lot now to find good stuff. But you know, it's still possible to find a small bag of yours over a course of a half a day. And then we've got these stones have been faceted into some beautiful stones here. The interesting thing about sunstones is the most common are these straw colored, but there are impurities that get in here from small amounts of copper, and you can get a schiller, the red, or you can get a green. So those are obviously very rare. There are some fee dig areas over in that locale, and you can pay to go through their pay dirt. So you can get some of the better stuff there. On the second shelf is this fire opal from Hepner at Opal Butte. And that's not an area that's open to the public anymore. It may change, you could keep checking. But fire opal is the precious variety of opal. Common opal is dull, it's waxy, it's very uninteresting, it's usually green. But this fire opal is different. And it's got subtle amounts of iron oxide in it that give it the play. And the most sought after pieces have just a wonderful play of colors in them. And they also can be faceted into stones. So we've got varieties of that to show off. And then finally over here in this last display case, this is one of my favorites for when I bring in my friends and family to the museum. I just love this display because it shows the art that you can find in rocks. These are all examples of jasper, picture jasper, and some agate that has been cut and polished. And in this case, it was butterflied open to give it